She banged on the cabin door like she owned the mountain. "Open up right now! This is an HOA inspection!" she shouted, waving a paper that looked like it was printed off a cheap home printer. My wife glanced at me calm as ever and whispered, "She's bluffing." But Karen wasn't here to talk. She stormed right past the porch railing, pointing at our truck like it was some kind of crime scene. "This vehicle is not authorized, and this cabin isn't even registered. You two are trespassing." Her voice carried through the trees, loud enough for the neighbors to peek from their windows. I clenched my fists but stayed silent. We both knew this was our land. We had the deed, the taxes were paid, everything was legal. Still, she threw that fake notice on the cabin door, screaming, "If you don't leave in 10 minutes, I'll call the sheriff and have you arrested for squatting." That's when my wife stepped forward, holding a plain folder she had kept hidden behind her back. She didn't flinch, didn't raise her voice. She simply pulled out a document and said, "Before you embarrass yourself more, you might want to read this." Karen froze, her eyes darting to the bold header. It wasn't just any paper, it was a signed warrant. Her face dropped like the ground had just vanished beneath her feet. She stuttered, What is this?" My wife looked her dead in the eye and said quietly, "It's the reason you should stop pretending to have power over us." And in that moment, Karen didn't have a word left. Karen's face twitched, her lips opening and closing like she wanted to scream, but the words just wouldn't come out. She finally managed, This isn't real. You can't just wave some paper around and scare me. I run this neighborhood and you people don't belong here." She jabbed her finger at my chest, her fake authority dripping from every word. I stepped forward, but my wife placed her hand gently on my arm, stopping me. She kept her calm stare on Karen. "You should know," she said slowly. "A judge doesn't hand out warrants without reason." Karen's eyes widened. Her arrogance cracked for the first time, but then she doubled down, puffing up her chest. "Fine. If you won't leave, I'll bring backup." She snatched her phone from her pocket, dialing fast, muttering about my officers and my authority. But what she didn't know was that the people she was calling weren't hers to command. Within minutes, a patrol car pulled up. Karen strutted toward it like she had summoned an army. "Officer, arrest these squatters," she barked, pointing to us. "They're living here illegally. I caught them red-handed." The officer barely glanced at her before walking straight to my wife, nodding respectfully. "Ma'am, we received your notice. Everything is in order. Do you want her trespassing report filed today? Or do you want to give her one last warning?" Karen's jaw fell open. She spun toward the officer in disbelief. "Wait, what? You're supposed to be on my side!" The officer shook his head, stone-faced. "No, ma'am. We're here to uphold the law, not your personal grudges." And that's when Karen realized she wasn't dealing with ordinary neighbors. Karen's voice cracked as she tried to regain control. No, this is wrong. I am the HOA president and these people are breaking the rules." She fumbled through her folder of fake notices, shoving them toward the officer like they were proof of some grand crime. The officer didn't even touch them. He just crossed his arms, waiting. My wife finally spoke, her tone still steady but now carrying a sharp edge. "Karen, you really should stop lying. Because every single fake notice you've posted, every threat you've made, is already on record." She reached into her folder again, this time pulling out clear high-resolution photos. Each one showed Karen taping her bogus letters to our cabin door, shouting in the street, and even trespassing on our land at night with a flashlight. Karen's face drained of color. You were spying on me?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Spying? No, just protecting ourselves." "Cameras don't lie, Karen." The officer leaned in, scanning the photos, then slowly turned toward her. "Ma'am, this is serious. You've been impersonating HOA authority, trespassing, and making false reports. Do you have any idea what kind of charges that carries?" For the first time, Karen's arrogance cracked wide open. She stammered, You don't understand. I was just trying to keep order." "This cabin doesn't fit the community standards. It makes the whole neighborhood look like freedom." I cut in, my voice sharp now, because that's exactly what it looks like. This is our land, paid for, protected, and not even you can take that away. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the officer reaching for his radio. Karen took a shaky step back, clutching her fake notices like a shield. But it was too late. Her game was crumbling, and she knew it. Karen's legs wobbled as the officer spoke into his radio. "Dispatch, I've got an impersonation and harassment case here. Possible charges include falsifying documents and filing false police reports." The words hit her like a hammer. She dropped her stack of fake HOA papers, scattering them across the dirt. And suddenly her screaming voice turned into a desperate whisper. "Please, you don't have to do this. I was only trying to protect the neighborhood." My wife stepped forward, her voice low but firm. Protect it from what? Families living in their own homes? Veterans who fought for the right to own their land? She let the question hang in the air. Karen looked at me then, her eyes darting nervously, but she said nothing. I finally spoke, and my words came out steady. "I didn't serve overseas just to come home and be told I can't park on my own driveway. People like you think rules are weapons. But today, the law isn't on your side." The officer pulled out his citation pad. "Ma'am, you're being officially reported. You can choose to leave quietly now, or we'll have you escorted out in cuffs. Your call." Karen's shoulders slumped. For the first time, she didn't scream, didn't argue. She just turned, muttering to herself as she stumbled back toward the road. The neighbors, who had been peeking from their porches the whole time, started whispering, some even pulling out their phones to record her walk of shame. My wife slipped her hand into mine, her eyes soft now. "It's over," she whispered. But I knew this moment wasn't just about us winning against Karen. It was about something deeper, showing everyone watching that lies, fake power and intimidation can't stand against truth and justice. As the officer handed me a copy of the report for our records, he nodded once. "You did the right thing. People like her, they don't win in the end." I looked around at the cabin, the land we had fought to protect, and felt a wave of calm wash over me. "This isn't just a cabin," I said quietly, more to myself than anyone else. "This is freedom, and no one can take that away." The end.